Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Life is full of uncertainties, and one of the greatest struggles we face is the illusion of control. We often believe that with the right words, actions, or efforts, we can influence how others think, behave, or respond to us. This belief, however, leads to frustration, disappointment, and even suffering. The truth is simple, yet difficult to accept. You cannot control others, only yourself. Understanding and internalizing this principle can free you from unnecessary emotional turmoil and allow you to live a more peaceful and fulfilling life. People are driven by their own experiences, perspectives, and emotions. No matter how much you try to persuade, convince, or guide someone, they will ultimately make their own choices based on their unique worldview. This is why attempts to control others often fail. You may want someone to treat you with kindness, but their actions are shaped by their personality and values, not your desires. You may want a loved one to change for the better, but they will only do so if they genuinely choose to. The more you try to force change in others, the more resistance you will meet. Think of the countless times you have tried to explain yourself to someone who refuses to understand. No matter how clearly you articulate your thoughts, they see what they want to see. You may repeat yourself, become frustrated, and feel unheard. But what if you shifted your approach? Instead of exhausting yourself trying to make them understand, you accept that their perspective is theirs to hold. This does not mean you agree with them, nor does it mean you do not care. It simply means you recognize that their thoughts and opinions are beyond your control, and rather than wasting energy on changing them, you redirect your focus to something within your grasp: your own response. When you try to control others, you give them power over you. Your happiness becomes dependent on their actions. If they behave in a way you approve of, you feel good. If they do not, you feel frustrated. In essence, you hand over your emotional well-being to external forces. But when you focus on yourself, on your reactions, your choices, and your mindset, you reclaim that power. You become the master of your own emotions rather than a victim of others' behavior. This principle applies to all aspects of life, from relationships to work and social interactions. Consider a situation where a colleague consistently undermines you. You could spend hours thinking about how unfair it is, trying to change their behavior, or even confronting them repeatedly. But if they do not want to change, all your efforts will be in vain. The more effective approach is to focus on what you can control: your own professionalism, your response, and your attitude. By doing so, you not only protect your peace, but also avoid being dragged into negativity. The same is true in personal relationships. Many people hold on to the hope that they can make someone love them, make someone stay, or make someone care in the way they wish. This often leads to pain because love, loyalty, and affection cannot be forced. People will feel what they feel, and no amount of effort can change a heart that does not want to change. Instead of trying to control the emotions of others, the wiser path is to focus on yourself, on becoming the best version of who you are, on setting boundaries, and on recognizing your worth. When you do this, you attract people who genuinely appreciate you, rather than those who need convincing. It is also important to understand that trying to control others often stems from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, or fear of being misunderstood. This fear can make us desperate to hold on, to fix, or to mold people into what we want them to be. But fear-based control is an illusion. No matter how tightly you grip, people will still act according to their own nature. True freedom comes when you let go of this fear and trust that you will be okay, regardless of what others do. Another crucial aspect of self-focus is emotional regulation. When people mistreat you, dismiss you, or act in ways that trigger frustration, you might feel the urge to react impulsively, but reacting emotionally only gives them further control over you. Instead, when you accept that you cannot control them, you gain the ability to respond wisely. You learn to pause, to reflect, and to choose actions that align with your inner peace rather than your fleeting emotions. By shifting your attention from controlling others to mastering yourself, you also cultivate resilience. You stop depending on external circumstances for your happiness and develop inner stability. When challenges arise, you do not crumble because your foundation is within, not outside of you. You no longer waste time trying to make others act a certain way. Instead, you channel that energy into becoming more disciplined, more patient, and more focused on your personal growth. Understanding that you cannot control others does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become indifferent or isolated. It simply means you respect the autonomy of others while taking full responsibility for yourself. You offer guidance, you express your thoughts, and you set your boundaries, but you do not demand or force. You accept that people will be who they choose to be, and in that acceptance you find peace. When you truly embrace this mindset, life becomes lighter. The weight of expectations, disappointments, and frustrations begins to lift. You stop chasing after things outside your control and start investing in what truly matters: your own growth, your own peace, and your own actions. And in doing so, you become truly free. Seeking external validation is a trap that many people fall into without even realizing it. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek approval from parents, teachers, peers, and society. We learn that praise means we are doing well and criticism means we are falling short. Over time, this need for validation becomes ingrained in our thinking, shaping how we act, what we pursue, and even how we see ourselves. But the constant chase for external approval is a never-ending cycle, one that leads to frustration, insecurity, and a loss of true self-awareness. When a person relies on external validation, their sense of self-worth becomes dependent on the opinions of others. If they receive compliments, likes, or recognition, they feel good about themselves. But the moment that approval is withheld, they begin to doubt their value. This instability creates a dangerous emotional roller coaster, where happiness is no longer in their control. Instead of finding confidence from within, they become trapped in a cycle of constantly seeking reassurance from the outside world. The problem with seeking external validation is that it places personal fulfillment in the hands of others. No matter how hard someone tries, they cannot control how people react to them. Approval is unpredictable. One day people may admire and praise you, and the next they may criticize or ignore you. If your self-esteem is built on these fluctuating opinions, you will always feel uncertain about your worth. This creates a fragile existence where self-confidence is temporary and easily shattered by rejection or disapproval. People who constantly seek validation often struggle with authenticity. Instead of expressing their true thoughts, feelings, and desires, they modify themselves to fit what they believe others want. They suppress opinions that might be unpopular, engage in activities they do not truly enjoy, and say what they think will be well received, rather than what they genuinely believe. Over time, this leads to a disconnect between their true self and the image they present to the world. Living inauthentically for the sake of approval may bring temporary acceptance, but it comes at the cost of personal integrity and long-term happiness. Social media has amplified the validation trap, making approval more immediate and addictive than ever before. A simple post can generate hundreds of likes and comments, creating an instant but fleeting sense of worth. But when the response is less than expected, self-doubt begins to creep in. People start comparing themselves to others, questioning why they did not receive the same level of attention. This constant need for validation turns into an obsession, where self-worth is measured by numbers rather than by genuine self-acceptance. It creates a mindset where people chase after recognition rather than focusing on real personal growth. Chasing external approval also leads to fear of rejection, fear of criticism, and fear of not being enough. This fear holds people back from taking risks, speaking their minds, or pursuing what truly fulfills them. They may avoid opportunities that could lead to failure simply because they are afraid of what others might think. Instead of living freely and exploring their potential, they remain confined within the expectations and judgments of those around them. Over time, this fear-based living stifles creativity, confidence, and self-discovery. Another consequence of external validation is emotional exhaustion. Constantly trying to please everyone is draining because no matter how much effort is put in, there will always be someone who disapproves. The desire to be liked by all leads to overthinking, second-guessing, and an inability to make decisions without reassurance. Instead of focusing on what is personally meaningful, energy is wasted on worrying about the perceptions of others. This constant external focus prevents people from building true inner strength and self-assurance. The harsh reality is that external validation is never enough. Even when someone gains approval, they soon find themselves craving more. The satisfaction from praise is temporary, and the moment it fades, the cycle begins again. The need for validation becomes an insatiable hunger that can never truly be satisfied. No amount of recognition can replace the deep and lasting confidence that comes from within. And people who base their worth on external approval will always feel like they are chasing something just out of reach. The key to breaking free from this trap is shifting the focus inward. Instead of seeking validation from others, one must learn to validate themselves. This means defining success and happiness on personal terms, rather than relying on outside opinions. It means trusting one's own judgment and embracing self-worth regardless of external recognition. True confidence comes from knowing who you are, standing by your values, and not allowing outside influences to dictate your self-esteem. Letting go of the need for validation is not easy, but it is one of the most freeing things a person can do. It allows for genuine self-expression, personal growth, and a life that is not dictated by the shifting opinions of others. When a person no longer seeks approval, they gain the power to make choices that align with their true desires, rather than ones designed to impress or appease. They become more resilient, less affected by rejection, and more at peace with themselves. True self-worth is built from the inside out, and once a person embraces that, they no longer need external validation to feel whole. Letting go is a form of strength that many struggle to embrace. Human nature makes us want to hold on. To people, to memories, to expectations, and even to pain. We believe that if we just try harder, things will change. If we hold on long enough, people will come back, situations will improve, or life will give us what we want. But this belief often leads to suffering. True strength lies not in grasping what is slipping away, but in having the courage to release what no longer serves us. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a conscious act of choosing peace over struggle. One of the hardest things to let go of is people. Whether it is a friend who no longer values us, a relationship that has reached its end, or family members who do not understand us, we often cling to the hope that they will change. We replay conversations, overanalyze actions, and wonder what we could have done differently. But holding on to people who have chosen to leave, mistreated us, or no longer align with our path only drains our energy. It takes strength to accept that some people are only meant to be part of our journey for a season. Instead of chasing after those who do not value our presence, we must redirect our focus toward those who appreciate and respect us. Letting go also applies to expectations. Many people suffer not because of what actually happens to them, but because of how reality differs from what they imagined. We create ideals in our minds. How our careers should unfold, how our relationships should look, how life should treat us. When things do not go as planned, we resist, trying to force situations to fit our expectations. But life is unpredictable, and clinging to rigid expectations only leads to disappointment. Strength comes from adapting, from accepting that things do not always go our way, and from finding peace in what is rather than in what we wish it would be. The past is another weight that many carry for too long. Painful memories, regrets, and mistakes often linger in our minds, making us feel trapped. We replay past experiences, wishing we had made different choices, or that things had turned out differently. But no amount of overthinking can change what has already happened. Holding on to the past only robs us of the present. Strength is found in acknowledging past experiences, learning from them, and then releasing them. The ability to let go of what cannot be changed allows us to move forward without unnecessary burdens. Letting go also applies to control. Many people try to control every aspect of their lives, believing that if they plan everything perfectly, they can avoid pain and uncertainty. But control is an illusion. No matter how much effort we put into managing outcomes, there will always be factors beyond our influence. People will make their own choices. Unexpected challenges will arise, and not everything will go according to plan. Strength is found in surrendering to the flow of life, in accepting that uncertainty is part of existence, and in trusting ourselves to navigate whatever comes our way. Forgiveness is another powerful act of letting go. Holding on to resentment and anger toward those who have wronged us may feel justified, but it ultimately harms us more than it harms them. Carrying anger is like holding onto a burning coal, expecting the other person to feel the pain. True strength is found in letting go of grudges, not for the sake of others, but for our own peace. Forgiveness does not mean excusing bad behavior or allowing people back into our lives. It simply means refusing to let past pain continue to control our emotions. Self-doubt and negative self-perceptions are also things that must be let go. Many people carry insecurities from past failures, criticism, or comparisons with others. They hold on to limiting beliefs about what they can achieve, what they deserve, and who they are. But true strength comes from releasing these false narratives and embracing self-acceptance. Letting go of self-doubt does not mean ignoring areas for improvement. It means recognizing that past failures do not define us, and that we are capable of growth and change. Letting go is often uncomfortable because it requires us to step into the unknown. Holding on may feel familiar, even if it is painful. But real strength is not in staying where we are comfortable. It is in having the courage to release what is weighing us down and trust that something better lies ahead. When we let go, we create space for new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities. We allow ourselves to grow, to heal, and to move forward with clarity and peace. The ability to let go is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest forms of strength we can cultivate. Your time and energy are valuable, yet many people spend them carelessly, often without realizing the cost. Every moment of your life is a resource that cannot be replenished. Unlike money, which can be earned back, time lost is gone forever. Energy too is finite. It is not something that can be poured into endless pursuits without consequence. Understanding the value of both time and energy is essential to living a meaningful and fulfilling life. How you choose to spend them determines the quality of your experiences, relationships, and overall well-being. Many people waste their time on things that do not contribute to their growth or happiness. They engage in meaningless conversations, scroll through social media for hours, or surround themselves with people who drain their spirit rather than uplift them. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and before they know it, they look back with regret, wondering where all the time went. The truth is, time is always moving, whether we use it wisely or not. Being mindful of how each hour is spent is a sign of self-respect. It is not about being productive every second of the day, but about making sure that what we do aligns with our values and goals. Energy is just as important as time. People often overextend themselves, saying yes to every request, engaging in unnecessary arguments, or giving their attention to things that do not deserve it. Energy, once depleted, takes effort to restore. If it is constantly poured into people or situations that bring negativity, it leaves a person drained, unable to focus on what truly matters. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries, knowing when to walk away, when to say no, and when to prioritize your own well-being over the demands of others. It means recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your mental and emotional space. One of the biggest mistakes people make is spending time and energy trying to change others. They invest in relationships where they are not appreciated, trying to prove their worth to people who refuse to see it. They argue with those who have already made up their minds, hoping to convince them to understand. But changing people is not within our control. The more energy spent trying to force someone to be different, the more frustration it brings. Instead of pouring energy into fixing others, it should be directed toward personal growth, self-improvement, and relationships that bring mutual respect and understanding. Distractions are another way time and energy are wasted. People often engage in activities that provide temporary pleasure but no real fulfillment. They procrastinate on things that matter, filling their days with mindless entertainment or tasks that keep them busy but not productive. While rest and relaxation are important, there is a difference between intentional rest and aimless distraction. Time spent without purpose leads to a sense of emptiness, while time spent meaningfully brings a sense of accomplishment. Being aware of how distractions consume valuable hours is the first step toward regaining control over one's life. The people you surround yourself with also impact how your time and energy are used. Some people bring encouragement, wisdom, and positivity, while others drain your spirit with negativity. gossip, and unnecessary drama. Energy is contagious. Being around the wrong people can leave you exhausted without realizing why. It is important to evaluate relationships and choose those that add value rather than take it away. Walking away from toxic environments is not selfish. It is necessary for protecting your peace and mental clarity. Many people believe they have unlimited time and delay pursuing their dreams, assuming they can start, but time does not wait. Every day spent doing something that does not align with one's purpose is a day lost forever. Opportunities pass, potential remains unused, and life becomes a series of routines rather than an experience of growth and fulfillment. Recognizing the importance of time means taking action now rather than waiting for the perfect moment. There will never be a time when everything aligns perfectly. The best time to start is always the present. There is also a cost to constantly pleasing others. Many people spend their time and energy trying to meet expectations set by family, friends, or society, even when those expectations do not align with their true desires. They pursue careers they do not love, maintain relationships that no longer bring happiness, and engage in commitments that drain them simply because they fear disappointing others. But living for others at the expense of oneself leads to resentment and exhaustion. Prioritizing what is truly meaningful, rather than what pleases everyone else, is essential to preserving both time and energy. The way you use your time and energy shapes the kind of life you will have. If they are spent wisely, on meaningful relationships, personal growth, and things that bring joy, life feels fulfilling. If they are wasted on unnecessary drama, distractions, and people who do not appreciate them, life feels frustrating and empty. Understanding that time and energy are limited resources helps in making better decisions about where to invest them. Being selective, intentional, and mindful about their use is not selfish. It is necessary for living a life that feels truly worthwhile. People will come and go throughout life, and accepting this truth is essential for inner peace. Relationships, no matter how strong they seem, are not always meant to last forever. Friendships fade, loved ones move on, and even the closest bonds can weaken over time. Holding on to the idea that people should remain in our lives indefinitely only leads to suffering. True strength lies in accepting that change is natural, that departures are sometimes necessary, and that life continues regardless of who stays or leaves. It is natural to form deep attachments to people. Relationships bring joy, comfort, and meaning, but they are also unpredictable. No matter how much effort is put into maintaining them, not all connections will stand the test of time. Some people come into our lives for a purpose, teaching us valuable lessons before they leave. Others stay for years, only to drift away due to circumstances beyond our control. The belief that relationships should always last forever ignores the reality that people grow, change, and sometimes outgrow each other. Clinging to the past or trying to force a connection that is no longer meant to be only creates frustration and pain. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some people will leave without explanation. They may stop responding, create distance, or choose a different path that no longer includes us. This can be painful, especially when no closure is given. The mind seeks answers, wondering what went wrong, what could have been done differently, or why things changed. But not every departure comes with an explanation, and not every goodbye needs one. Sometimes people leave not because of something we did or failed to do, but because their journey is simply taking them elsewhere. Trying to chase after those who have already decided to go only drains energy and prolongs the pain. Friendships in particular are often affected by time and circumstances. The people we were once close to in childhood or during certain phases of life may not remain as significant as we grow older. Interests change, priorities shift, and paths diverge. This does not mean the friendship was meaningless. It simply means it served its purpose for the time it existed. Expecting every friend to remain close forever is unrealistic. Instead of mourning lost friendships, it is better to appreciate the memories and lessons they provided while allowing space for new connections to form. Romantic relationships also follow this pattern. Many people believe that love should last forever, but the reality is that not every relationship is meant to be permanent. Some relationships teach us what we want and need, while others reveal our strengths and weaknesses. The end of a relationship does not mean it was a failure, it simply means it ran its course. Clinging to someone who has chosen to leave, or remaining stuck in a past relationship, prevents growth and healing. Accepting that love can be temporary allows us to move forward with openness rather than bitterness. Family relationships can also evolve in unexpected ways. While family bonds are often considered unbreakable, they too can change with time. Distance, personal differences, or life circumstances can create emotional separation, even among relatives. Holding on to the idea that family members should always remain close can lead to disappointment when reality does not match expectations. Accepting that even family relationships can shift helps prevent unnecessary pain. Instead of forcing connections that feel strained, it is better to focus on those relationships that bring mutual respect and understanding. Workplace relationships are another example of impermanence. Colleagues with whom we share daily interactions often feel like friends, yet when jobs change, those connections often fade. The closeness that existed within a shared environment may not carry over into a different setting. This does not mean those relationships were insincere. It simply means they were situational. Accepting that work relationships can be temporary prevents disappointment when those bonds do not continue beyond the workplace. The passing of loved ones is perhaps the most difficult form of loss to accept. Death is an inevitable part of life, yet it always feels sudden and unfair. The pain of losing someone permanently is profound, but resisting the reality of impermanence only prolongs suffering. Remembering that life itself is fleeting encourages us to cherish the moments we have with those we love, rather than taking time for granted. Accepting mortality does not mean becoming indifferent to loss, but rather learning to appreciate life while it lasts. People leave for many reasons: growth, new opportunities, misunderstandings, or simply because their role in our story has ended. Trying to hold on to everyone who enters our lives is not only impossible, but also unhealthy. When we accept that people will come and go, we stop fearing loss and start valuing presence. We learn to appreciate people while they are here, rather than resenting them when they leave. Letting go becomes easier when we understand that every departure makes space for new connections, new experiences, and new opportunities for growth. The ability to accept the impermanence of relationships brings freedom. It allows us to live without clinging, to love without fear, and to move forward without regret. Instead of being weighed down by those who have left, we become open to those who are yet to arrive. Change is a constant in life, and relationships are no exception. The sooner we embrace this truth, the more peaceful and fulfilling our lives become. True power lies in self-mastery, yet many people seek power in the wrong places. They chase control over others, status, material wealth, and external validation, believing these things will bring them influence and fulfillment. But true power is not about dominance or control over the outside world. It is about mastery over oneself. The ability to regulate emotions, maintain discipline, cultivate inner peace, and act with wisdom regardless of circumstances is the highest form of strength. When a person has control over their mind, actions, and reactions, they become unshakable. No external force can disturb their peace because their power comes from within. Mastering oneself begins with mastering emotions. Many people allow their emotions to dictate their actions, reacting impulsively to situations rather than responding with clarity. Anger, jealousy, fear, and frustration can cloud judgment, leading to poor decisions. True self-mastery means recognizing emotions without being controlled by them. It is not about suppressing feelings, but about understanding them, processing them, and choosing responses that align with one's values. A person who can remain calm in adversity, patient in difficulty, and composed in conflict possesses a power that cannot be taken away. Discipline is another key aspect of self-mastery. Many people fail to achieve their goals not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because they lack the discipline to stay committed. They allow distractions, procrastination, and fleeting pleasures to derail them. True power comes from the ability to do what needs to be done, even when motivation is low. The most successful people are not always the most gifted, but they are the most disciplined. They show up consistently, push through discomfort, and stay focused on their purpose. Mastering discipline means mastering the ability to delay gratification and prioritize long-term rewards over short-term pleasure. Control over thoughts is one of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of self-mastery. The mind is constantly flooded with doubts, fears, and negative self-talk. Many people believe these thoughts without questioning them, allowing their minds to work against them rather than for them. But thoughts can be trained just like a muscle. Through mindfulness, self-awareness, and intentional thinking, one can shape their mindset to be strong, positive, and resilient. A person who has mastered their mind does not allow self-doubt or external criticism to shake their confidence. They remain focused, clear-headed, and immune to unnecessary mental suffering. Mastering oneself also requires mastering one's desires. Many people are enslaved by their cravings. Whether it be for food, substances, entertainment, or validation, they seek pleasure in excess and become trapped in cycles of addiction, distraction, and temporary satisfaction. True power comes from the ability to control desires rather than be controlled by them. It means enjoying things in moderation, resisting temptations that do not serve one's higher purpose, and understanding that lasting fulfillment does not come from indulging every impulse, but from living with intention and balance. The ability to control reactions to external events is a defining characteristic of self-mastery. Life is unpredictable, and challenges will always arise. Many people allow external situations to dictate their inner state, feeling happy when things go well and miserable when things go wrong. But a person who has mastered themselves remains steady regardless of circumstances. They do not panic in chaos, nor do they become arrogant in success. They understand that external events are beyond their control, but their response to them is always within their power. This level of detachment and composure is the mark of true strength. Another key element of self-mastery is understanding and overcoming one's weaknesses. Everyone has flaws and limitations, but those who ignore them remain trapped by them. Self-mastery requires deep self-awareness, the ability to recognize personal shortcomings and actively work on them. This means identifying habits that are harmful, acknowledging blind spots, and constantly striving to improve. A person who has mastered themselves does not make excuses or blame others for their failures. Instead, they take full responsibility for their actions and continuously seek growth. True power also lies in mastering speech and communication. Many people speak without thinking, say things they regret, or fail to communicate effectively. Words have immense power. They can heal or harm, build or destroy. Mastering speech means speaking with intention, choosing words carefully, and knowing when silence is more powerful than speaking. A person who has control over their tongue commands respect and influence without unnecessary conflict or misunderstandings. Self-mastery is not about perfection, it is about progress. No one is in complete control of themselves at all times, but the pursuit of self-mastery is what sets powerful individuals apart. They do not allow setbacks to define them, nor do they let emotions, distractions, or external events dictate their path. They remain grounded, disciplined, and in control of their inner world. This inner power is far greater than any external force. When a person has mastered themselves, they become unstoppable, not because they control the world, but because the world no longer controls them. Self-mastery is the highest form of power because it is the only power that cannot be taken away. Wealth, status, and influence over others are fleeting, but the ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions remains yours alone. When you master yourself, external circumstances no longer dictate your peace, and no challenge can shake your foundation. True power is not about bending the world to your will, but about mastering your own. The stronger your self-restraint, the freer you become. In the end, the person who rules themselves needs no authority over others. They have already won the greatest battle of all.